You're listening to the Energy is Love podcast.
We have been, what we've been doing, you guys can't tell, the people that are listening, but what we've been doing is we've been catching up. So a lot of times we record, obviously these episodes in advance, and then the editing process takes place, and then they come out later on. And we're trying to get caught up by one so that we kind of give ourselves a little bit of a leeway.
We did, didn't we?
Well, we are technically ahead at this point, but not in the editing. So the editing is still trying to catch up.
I got to talk to the editor.
I know. The editors.
I don't think he has anything else to do.
So since today is a Wednesday, and in the span of a week, we recorded last Wednesday. So there was one Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So this is the 5th time we've recorded in a week, which is, a lot for us because we're just releasing 2 episodes a week. Anyways, so that's 5 episodes in a week that we've recorded, and we're going to do our 300th episode on Friday because it's a big deal, and it's actually going to be in conjunction. We're going to record it the same day of our frickin' anniversary, which is amazing. That's going to be really fun.
Happy anniversary. Happy anniversary.
And then after that Friday, we're going to record one more time.
Yeah.
So it's 7 episodes recorded in just over a week.
It's funny because I know that it always comes. We always have something to talk about. Sometimes we have intention. We're going to talk about this. Sometimes we're like, what's going to come? And we just let it intuitively happen, which is most of the time. And I know we're always going to have something to talk about. But when they're that close together, I'm like, what are we going to talk about?
I know, it's a little nerve-wracking, huh?
I don't know. What are we going to talk about?
Yeah, we've got so many changes going on right now.
Me too.
And so many really exciting things. If you're a longtime listener of the podcast, we've got so much stuff coming. And we say that all the time, but legitimately. We got merch. You can go get some merch now.
Merch.
We're in the process of building a new website. We've rolled out some coaching. We're going through yoga teacher training. So many things have changed for us this year. And on top of it, we're recording a lot more podcasts, which means...
Put my lid over there.
Okay.
Let's see if that helps when I don't have it.
Help with your clickety-click,
yeah,
click.
Because I don't have anything to twist and turn and push and pull.
Play with the cards again, remember? Anyways, what are you looking at
I just heard a boom.
Oh, yeah, I think it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just a sound in the basement or below us. It's a ton of podcasting and a ton of editing, and I've got reels coming out my ears, and I can't remember what episode's what and so it's a beautiful practice of being present.
Here we go.
Because this is episode something or another. Actually, this is episode 297.
Gosh.
And I don't know what we're going to talk about. And I don't know what we talked about on last week's episode. And I don't know what next week's episode is.
I know what next week's episode is. Actually, no,
week?
I don't. Never mind.
Yeah, we're 3 away from the big 300. And we have a really... we're nervous about
us.
It's going to be fun, but I'm nervous.
Are you
As
nervous?
it's getting
I'm
closer.
Nervous. Yeah. I'm like, I have no idea how to show up like this.
I know. We have a big surprise. It's a big deal. It's something that we're really pushing ourselves outside of our comfort zone, but also...
This is where I get thrown because she's like, it's a big surprise. I'm like, I don't think it's that big of a surprise. And I think you're like, oh no. Oh no.
Right. Yeah. You might not be surprised, but I think you will. I don't know what that is. You just passed me a note in class, and you don't want the teacher to see.
I'm trying to get you to look.
Okay, so I got something in my teeth.
I was trying to not see that.
I don't care.
Which
side?
That side. His camera side, or I probably wouldn't have said anything while you're on air, but I knew if you saw that in the editing, you'd be like, what the fuck? We just had dinner.
Right. Yeah, of course.
I was trying to, that was me being like...
Your note was teeth side.
Yeah, teeth, side.
What?
Teeth, side. I was trying to be fast.
Hold on. Why not write, you have something in your teeth?
Because I thought you could connect the dots.
Well...
I was doing this. If you'd have looked at me, I turned like this. I was going...
Yeah, they'll never catch that on.
I turned away. It was like pointing with my tongue.
Right.
I was showing you like, right there. Okay. Well, next time I'll just point it out. I won't try to nonchalantly give you that, like, it's like this goes into our check of, you know, how
boogers, eye boogers, hair out of place,
blood,
stuff
all
in
of
the
that.
teeth, right?
Yeah, I had your back, and you were like, just say it.
Yeah, we talked about this. We're going through this yoga teacher training, and there's some live calls involved with it. And I've had the realization of, like, we show up to the podcast pretty raw, kind of just come upstairs and record our episodes. And
I put makeup on usually.
Yeah, sometimes I've been putting on some nicer shirts.
Yeah.
Simply because
I didn't even do.
I get so tired of wearing the same shorts and t-shirts over and over and over again. And anywho, on these live calls that we're doing, I had the realization that I was more nervous about, like, my outfit for these silly live calls. And they're not silly, but for these live calls, instead of concerned about my outfit for the podcast. And it's just funny. You know, we get comfortable up here in our space, and then we're on a Zoom call. Oh my God, not on a Zoom call. Right.
I think it's funny. I have
a conspiracy theory, but go ahead. I'm listening.
Do you want to just go right to that?
No, sorry. I don't know why I squirreled.
You're
about to say something. Conspiracy.
I'm more used to the Zoom calls because I've done so many of those.
Yeah.
So like with a podcast, I like to kind of like do my hair just a little bit. I forgot it's still up and it's messy. Like I didn't even.
You feel like you've done more Zoom calls than podcasts?
No. I meant more Zoom calls, I guess, than you.
Yes.
On that. So, and like more like classes and the group thing. So with the podcast, I try makeup. Is that one bad?
It's just hot.
Oh, it's way hot. This one, squirrel again. I'll have to try and circle back. This one, I felt like being nice to myself or mean to myself, depending on your take. So this is those apple cider packets, the ones that are basically just sugar.
Yeah.
Like hot chocolate. This isn't even tea. This is like.
Is it just straight?
It's do you know those
cider?
ones that you get? That's like the
that's
hot
what I was
cocoa
hoping this
packs?
one was going to be.
Well, do you want it? Because
no, it's okay.
Technically, it's here.
It's okay.
We can share. I also brought 2 bags and the teapot, so I could have more tea.
We're getting a little squirrely.
Well, I was trying to. Whatever. My point. I try to put on more of an effort for the podcast, but that's starting to fall. I didn't do makeup. I didn't do my hair. I have a little bit of makeup on today. I meant the other day.
You're more authentic.
But Zoom calls, I don't give a fuck. I'm sorry. I just show up. Like I may, if I happen to have anything done, then that's because that's what I had. But I don't.
It's
like,
so much easier to just be genuine and authentic,
everywhere,
right?
No bra.
Don't you think?
I don't think it's like not being authentic if you have makeup on and your hair done.
You're right.
I don't know. There's just something about it doesn't feel like business casual or business when you're on the Zooms. It feels like
you're just in your pajamas on a Zoom
you're just
call.
like, we're here, we're learning, we're in this together. It feels like I don't know, it just feels more intimate. So you can show up in your I woke up this way because it's like an intimate setting. It's like a closure. You're not
you're still in your house.
You're still in your house, but it's like I guess the calls that I've been on, it's like it's vulnerability and it's connected and it's learning and it's growth. So it hasn't like felt, I don't know. I just like have awareness of that. It wasn't hard for me to just be a mess for the Zoom call. And so when you had attention to that, I thought for a minute, I'm like, oh, this is a little bit of a different thing. I probably should have done a little bit more for this one. So I'm like, I didn't even consider like needing to brush my teeth.
We just show up.
I just was like, here I am. By the way, I'm going to get up 56 times and let the dog in and out.
Like what's the new thing, right? You don't have to be perfect. You just got
to show up. I'm embodying that to no end.
That's so good, Steph.
Yeah. I feel like I should make more of an effort here, but yeah, it's not. It's like I'm starting to slack.
That's not a slack.
You don't think so?
That's the whole mentality, right?
Well, if you feel that way about me, then how does that like turn around and reflect back on you?
What do you mean?
Well, you were just like talking about how feeling like You tried to put on nicer shirts for the podcast
Yes.
and for the Zoom call. You wanted to get ready, but didn't.
Yeah, it's a balance, right?
Yeah.
It's a balance. It's a growth. It's a process. It's a practice. Showing up genuinely, showing up authentically, but also like, I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to, being concerned about your appearance isn't a bad quality. It's not a bad thing.
It's not. Being controlled by your
right.
appearance is one thing.
Yeah. And being, obsessed about it and worried about it and stressed about it.
Feeling like you don't measure up unless you're perfect.
Yeah. And what people are thinking and, everybody's in, it's like, man, if we all thought about, what's that thing? Like if you knew how frequently people were thinking about you, right? People don't think about each other.
Yeah.
We're all just sitting around thinking about ourselves. Even right now, I'm sitting here thinking about myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm thinking about myself too, if we talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm like, I feel like I spend a lot of time thinking about other people though.
But do you think about other people or do you think about other people in relation to yourself?
I guess it
because the way that I think about it,
I don't feel like I think it's both.
I think about other people.
Yeah.
But I think about my relationship with those other people.
That's the only way you think about them is how is your relationship with them. You don't think about like their well-being, how they're doing, like if they had a hard time, if they're being supported.
I think all those things.
See, that's that doesn't have anything to do with you.
I know, but I think it's probably 95% of the time I'm thinking about other people in relation to myself, even if I am thinking about their well-being. Like think about the kids. We want the kids to be happy.
Yeah. But we want the kids to be happy, period.
Yes.
Not the kids to be happy so we can be happy.
Correct.
Is it an effect that we're happy if they're happy? Yes.
Yes.
But even like regardless of us being happy or not, we want our kids to be happy, period.
Correct.
So I don't see that point.
What I'm saying, that's definitely a point, right? What you just said. But the subconscious thought process in regards to the people that we love and care about, I think is the majority of the time, I think it is basically being ran through the filter of how does this affect me or how am I feeling about that?
How am I feeling about that? Oh, I guess. Okay.
And so it's like, yes, the core is I want the kids to be happy, period, separate from my relationship with them or separate from how they see me or how they view me or anything like that, right? And that is definitely something that is inside of me and that I can think about. But subconsciously, the majority of the time, it's the thought process that is fed through my relationship with them. How does it affect me? How am I feeling about the relationship?
I can see that, like, how does it affect me? I couldn't see. But then when you're like, how am I feeling about the relationship? How am I feeling about their happiness? I'm like, oh, there it is.
Right. If they're
because
happy,
it
I'm
is
happy.
like how I'm feeling about their happiness. It's like I don't need them to be happy for my happiness.
But yet your happiness is still influenced by
theirs. It is still influenced. So I see what you said. So there's more reflection that I can do there. There's definitely going to be
And that's just like one, like you and me.
Yeah.
I am like the person that I think of the most next to me is you.
Yeah.
So I think of myself the most.
Oh, you are definitely.
Right.
You are an ongoing theme.
However,
is it just?
I think the majority of the time that I'm thinking about you, it's in relation to me. And it's about how I'm feeling and how you're feeling directly affects how I'm feeling. And like, it's not a bad thing. I think it's got a negative connotation in some ways, right?
Click. No, I'm just like seeing it. Like I had some oblivion there. And I'm just like, oh, look at that. I'm like, no, that's not what it is. But if I sit with it for a second,
it's the subconscious thought.
Shit, look at that.
Right. Because I'm sitting there thinking, I'll wake up in the morning and my thoughts are first about how I'm feeling. I'm like, I slept pretty good. I might be remembering a dream. So I'm sitting there kind of processing what the night experience was like, how my body's feeling, what I'm going to do the first thing that I wake up. And then I start thinking about you. And I think I wonder how she's feeling. And I wonder if she slept well. And if I'm truthful about it, because it is a subconscious, if I'm truthful about it, it's because I'm gauging your sleep and how you're feeling and how that's going to influence my day and influence me.
Is it gonna, like, I see that, but it's also like another step. I'm like, I'm not sure that it's how it's going to influence, but it might, because I'm looking at it as so I know what to do,
Correct.
which is like my way of
How to
spinning
react,
it.
right?
So I know how to react. So I know like what kind of like presence to be
So
or
then it comes
support.
back to your survival.
So, but not like in a defensive, just in a, maybe defensive, but it's like in a compassionate too. But that's just one way to say it, which is saying the long way, what you said at first, how it influences my day.
Really, we're just
I'm
thinking
just
about
like,
ourselves.
no, that's not it. I'm just trying to see what you need. But that is,
Right?
you're saying the same thing.
Exactly.
Wow.
Back to, I'm only thinking about myself 99% of the time.
Wow.
And I think in order to think about someone else, you literally have to like shift something. So you have to have the cognitive thought of, I am now just thinking about this individual.
I feel like that happens too, though.
But do you feel like that
much.
happens subconsciously? Or do you feel like, think about the scripting that we're doing right now.
I am. I mean, I can.
And think about how it's like really clear that this is just about their well-being.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Yes.
And then there's another script about my relationship with them,
Yes.
right?
Same. Two
Two separate
scripts.
things.
Uh-huh.
I think my relationship, so basically my relationship with the world is my primary thought.
Uh-huh.
How I move through the world, how I interact with the world, people, relationships, whatever, right? Basically how I'm going to just experience this life is my primary thought. And it's my subconscious programming. It's literally just how the brain thinks. If you think about the ego, what's the ego always thinking about? Thinking about itself.
Me.
Right?
me.
So then we have to practice stepping out of that and actually thinking about the other person. And truthfully, this is now I'm gone on this rabbit hole.
Off you go.
This is the beautiful part of it. Even when we're in that really genuine place of just compassionately thinking about the other person.
Uh-huh.
Are you ready?
Uh-huh.
We're still thinking about ourselves. Because that person is me.
That person is me. Okay, because we're all, okay.
That person is not only a reflection of me, but they are me.
Yeah.
So then it becomes...
Well, if you go completely like esoteric and metaphysical and
what are
all
we
of that,
doing, babe?
right? I guess.
That's how we're moving through life now. Right?
Man.
We're yogis of life, not just of the physical poses to look good in our Instagram posts.
Which we also...
Yeah, by the way, lots of
like
asanas or whatever they're
like
called.
Stuff in the future.
Instagram posts of us putting our feet on our... I don't know.
I was thinking about how that's another one, but that goes back to appearance. So we're kind of
But isn't that a
past
crazy thought?
It is a crazy thought.
So then it's easy to just oversimplify it and say we're always thinking about ourselves, even when we're thinking about
I think
other
it's
people.
deeper than that, though. I think like the oversimplification, I can say that, but to say that is just a single layer and that's what it is, I think is, for me, it's way deeper than that. And there's so many different layers and...
Let's go into it.
Okay, well, okay.
What do you mean by it's so much deeper than that for you?
Well, like how you were turning it to...
The one?
Okay, I'm going to try and finish a sentence. My brain is super scrolled right now, and it's really hard to keep my thoughts organized.
I'm going to be quiet for a minute. I'm going to put a toothpick in my
By
mouth.
the way, I'm pretty sure that I've also been interrupting you and finishing your sentences the entire time. So I'm bringing out the hypocrisies for this
Is that
episode.
you finishing my sentences or just really finishing your own sentences?
Who knows, right? Maybe it's a little bit of both. Yes, we'll just stick with us to make it simple, okay? Because if we start branching out on all the other ones.
So just you and me?
Just you and me. And it's so much more than that. But just to try and keep the ADHD brain, I'm already lost. Like, I'm already lost just trying to explain it. I'm like, where was I going? Just you and me. And yes, I want you to have good days. Like right now, I want you to sleep really well tonight. And you can look at the layers of why. I want you to feel good. I want you to feel energized and healthy and happy. I want you to like feel confident and feel like momentum. I want your body to be healthy. I don't want you just to feel healthy. I want you to be healthy. All of the ways that I could keep going on how I hope you get a good night's sleep because you deserve it, because you work so hard. And all of those layers that are so, so, so true. And then you can look a little bit deeper. I also want you to have a good day or sleep well, to have a good day. So then my day is good too. Because if you're not having a good day, it's kind of, that definitely affects around. It affects how you interact with me. It affects how you interact with our kids and everybody. So there is that part. But the big part that comes back to what you said, even though I stand by, it's deeper than that. It is deeper. But what it comes back to is it's about you, on how it affects you. Is I started every single sentence with what I want. Exactly. I heard it as soon as like, I want. And I was like, well, it's not. It's like, it's selfless. Like, I want you to have this, like, in spite of, like, I don't wake you up to get Angel out because I want you to sleep, because I love you, because you matter to me. So it's a selfless thing. It is compassionate for you. And it does circle around to being, it is a want of mine. So one of my wants, which is in service to me, is you to be happy, is you to be healthy.
Yeah.
Is you to be, like, to have what you need in life. And the flip is that is in service to my own needs, because that is one of my wants. So if it wasn't one of my wants, would I even be thinking about how you slept? I think there's definitely people that I think about how they sleep and I hope they sleep good. And then there's people that, like, I'm not thinking about how they sleep.
Sleep with the fishes.
Like, I see the full spectrum of it, that it does come back to self-fulfilling needs, but how wonderful that those are the needs that we have, right? As kind needs, compassionate needs, loving needs towards other people, instead of the flip side. So I think it's deep. I think it's layers deep on the way that you, like, your wishes for other people. I think it's layers. What do you think? Did I just lose you in my ramble?
Not at all. Not at all.
Yeah. It's okay if I did.
Not at all.
Okay.
Obviously we're not talking about the person that only thinks of themselves, even though that's what we're saying. This isn't about the person that is inconsiderate. This isn't about the person that,
I want you to do this for me. Do this for me.
Right.
Nobody's ever doing anything for me. It's all.
Yeah, we can all think of that person that is really just thinking about themselves. That person that is really only concerned about their best interest and their well-being and prioritizing their needs above everything else. Like,
do you want to trade?
I'm okay, babe. That's all. I mean, that's the person that we can think of. And that's not what we're talking about, obviously. I hope it's obvious. But it's also kind of confusing me, because I'm sitting here thinking about so much of what's happening right now. And this kind of plays into what we wanted to talk about on the podcast anyways tonight.
Okay.
And it's the whole thing of, one of the things, oh my goodness. We were going to talk tonight about kind of life and death and what happens when we die, and kind of how the thoughts around that have changed, as well as some of the issues that we have that are evolving and changing in regards to kind of religion and strictly like the actual word God, and what God represents and what has represented for us in life and everything like that. And we might get into that.
I was like, I don't feel like my views on religion are changing.
You don't think so?
I don't think my views on religion are changing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Anyways, this kind of plays into it, because I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about this big, expansive, open universe that we are not just a part of,
Okay.
but that we are, right? We are the universe.
Okay.
We are the stardust. I was thinking about this morning, actually. I'm the space in between the spaces.
Yeah.
So everything, right now, the space in between you and me, I am that space.
You are that space.
The space that's in between,
Isn't
like my nucleus and my electrons and my neutrons and so much of my matter, this body, not my body, this body that I'm inhabiting, and even the I of the I'm inhabiting, I'm not that I.
Okay, what are you?
I'm the thing that sees that I.
Okay.
And then I'm the thing that's past the thing that sees the I. So it just keeps going outwards to where suddenly I am the universe.
Okay.
So then I have, right? It's not mine. This body that I'm embodying thinks about itself.
Yeah.
And that's the first thought. And I think that first thought that we have about ourself, if you think about it from the very beginning of like birth, it is animalistic. It's not genetic. It's instinctual. I think the animal that
Hunger,
we are,
hot, cold,
right,
thirsty,
is always going to think about itself first because it's about survival.
Yeah.
So it's always thinking about its needs first and how to get those needs met: food, shelter, water, and then love. So then everything is that thought, really. Everything is that instinctual, animalistic thought of getting my needs met. And then so how do we go past like the not just the biology, but like the chemical makeup of our thought process in our brain that is designed to keep this body alive? What's the space outside of that? What's next?
Okay.
Because if we get that thought down, I feel like you're totally not listening to me.
I'm listening to you. I'm trying to see. You're trying to get that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about this thought after. Because I am compassionate. I am thinking about you. I'm concerned about, like right now, I'm thinking about what you're feeling.
Okay.
And how you're feeling. And yes, it's in relation to me. And it's in relation to this experience right now. But there's also another part of me that genuinely wants you to just simply be happy. That part of us that just wants our kids to be happy, period. I have that for you as well.
Yeah.
Truthfully, I have that for every person that exists on this planet and even outside of this planet. So I have it for the whole as well as the individual, because I am that thing. I'm the individual. I'm the whole. It's all, man, what if this is just Craig's dream?
What if it is? This is your play. Like, I have mine and you have yours. Like we had that, remember? This is like, you're literally the star of everybody else is just characters.
Yeah.
I'm literally the star of mine. Everybody else is just characters.
I got a leading role in yours.
You do have a leading role.
I always wanted to be an actor.
Yeah.
Have I won the Oscar yet?
Oh, you won. You definitely won. I think
It's a weird rabbit hole, isn't it?
It is. I do think I kind of lost a part, because you went from basic animalistic needs of like firstborn survival, like the lizard brain mentality, to what's after that. But I feel like I missed that. I think you were like, it felt like you jumped right to like the right now, the you and me, and I think I missed a point.
I think because as I'm fleshing this thought out in my head, like in live action right now on the podcast, right? That survival aspect of our thought process and how do I get my needs met, I think probably drives the vast majority of people. And even though we spin it, and even though we think about it in these different ways, and we're loving and we're compassionate and we're supporting, we have friends and community and society, and I help people, I hold the door open for people, all of these kind of different things, I think at the end of the day are still driven by that base need of survival.
Okay.
And so all of our thoughts are about ourself. And then it's not until we see, feel, have some sort of experience, a spiritual awakening, a near death, something happens to us where we see the bigger picture.
Yeah.
And then we're able to do both.
And then, okay.
Because I can now think about my needs and your needs. And I see them as the same and separate.
Okay. I just had like, so much is coming up for me. Like, you're bringing up so much in such a beautiful way. I'm trying to like keep them Like I'm trying to hear you, and I am hearing you, but also trying to like, oh, I want to touch on this. And everything's just like, it's turning into like, a cyclone. Like it's like, I'm super excited and I want to keep touching all these, and I'm forgetting the things, and I'm not waiting for my turn to talk, but also I am. It's like, I don't even know if I'll be able to like circle back around to all of them now, because the last one was such a profound thing. Okay, so hold on. Let me just write.
Yeah, you got a piece of paper.
Hopefully that'll be enough. Okay, so I can see how
Teeth side.
right. I need to know my shorthand. I'm really surprised you didn't understand my shorthand, because you speak my language. You learned my language. And I'm over here like blah, 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 and that's all I can get out. And you're like, okay, so what she's saying is,
this is my
back
movie.
in third grade, there was this dream that she had. And then when she showed up, there was a dog. And I'm like, how did you get that? I could only make syllables or sounds, whatever. You were barking. Okay, so I can hear how this can be like triggering to people pleasers and survivors of like traumatic childhoods, abusive relationships, so many different ways, because they are absolutely, like, I'll have to hash this out. They're absolutely not putting their needs first. They're not even allowed to have needs. They don't have needs. It's never about their needs. It's about the other person.
Yeah.
Right? But what does that come back to? It's still a survival, because keeping that person happy keeps you
right,
safe and alive, keeps the people you love safe and alive. So it still comes back, which is like why we were trying to really emphasize this is not the selfish take. This is not the...
Well, even the narcissist
yeah,
is still driven by that same innate thing
yeah,
that is survival. Because the
yeah.
narcissist...
They learned how to survive,
Exactly.
and now they've taken that role and...
So the narcissist is literally surviving the way that they were taught to survive. That's
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
So they do think only about themselves because that's the way that they were taught.
Yeah. I'm also...
So it's a hard
I guess-
concept, right?
yeah,
Because then it triggers that thought of... I keep interrupting you. Go
No,
ahead.
no, you do. I was actually interrupting you on that one. It does trigger that. And like, I understand narcissists need love too. That's not my focus. That's somebody's focus.
Right? The narcissist.
And like, there's other people. There is somebody for everybody out there. And I'm not talking about relationships. There are niches for everybody. Like, you need help with this. Somebody else specializes in that and can help, but they can't fathom helping over in this thing. That's not their wheelhouse, but that's okay. You know why? Because it is this person's wheelhouse.
Right.
Like, so there's something, so just because like that, my focus isn't on the narcissist. I'm not about, like, my passion isn't like holding the narcissist and helping shift and heal. Right?
Yeah, there's always somebody, like you said.
But
it's
there's somebody that is.
It's like that movie, Dead Man Walking, with Susan Sarandon and Sean Penn back in the day. Do you remember that? Sean Penn was on death row, and she plays the nun that...
I don't think I've ever seen that.
It's a really good movie. She won the Academy Award for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like those people that will go and work with the death row inmates.
Yeah, there's just so many. There's like, I also have another take on death row now. Like, how
Right.
many people, before I...
But you're right. There's always somebody.
There's always somebody. So while I'm saying like that isn't my niche, then that just means like we're not a good match. Not that you're not worth help. And you absolutely are. It's just like you're going to find your people.
Is everybody worth help?
Is everybody worth help? Yes. Everybody is worth help. But that doesn't mean that it is everybody's job to be able to help everybody.
To be the helper.
We all have, like, that's
Steph,
why there's...
That's a really, really, really big shift for you.
Oh, thank you.
The acknowledgement that everybody deserves love.
Anyways.
Go ahead. Back to,
I guess you can't just leave it at that.
We all
Like,
think about
obviously I have those that have caused immense pain and trauma. Immense pain and trauma on the powerless I am not giving that love. But yes, I understand that everybody is worth it and that there's somebody to help them. And I hope so, because what happens if they get help? They stop hurting.
Right.
And that I'm passionate about. Okay.
So back to this. We
Back
only
to
think
this.
about ourselves.
So, oh gosh, I know what I was going to say, but I didn't write down a shorthand for how you phrased it. My goodness. It was like, I remember the first time that happened, you were talking about how, oh my, damn it. Oh, I'm so mad. I think it's gone. So before I went on my rant about how that was going to trigger people, and you were talking about how, like, our needs, and the first time that you're like really sitting into, or that when you're sitting into a moment of when you genuinely want that for somebody else, of when
you have a bigger, when something happens in your life and you realize that there's a bigger thing.
There's a bigger thing.
Whether that's your spiritual awakening, your near-death experience. Maybe it's the birth of a child.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I feel like that was mine.
Yeah, that's a spiritual
was
experience.
Mine.
I can only imagine what it's
was
like carrying another human inside of you for 10 months, right? I have some contextual understanding of that. That was also a very significant time for me, even though I wasn't carrying the child inside of me, but yet I could feel that child.
Yeah.
I knew that child was there even when it wasn't visibly obvious, right? And of course the literal birthing process of the child coming out into the world for the very first time, breathing oxygen, that's a spiritual experience.
Yeah.
And
all of it.
It's a traumatic experience.
Yeah.
That level of pain and love existing in the exact same moment, right? I've been in that type of intense, when the level of pain, like the only thing that matches the level of pain of that experience is the level of love that exists.
Yeah.
Those experiences are rare in life.
Yeah.
And they're magical, and they're hard, and they leave an indelible imprint on like the fabric of your makeup and who you are.
I agree.
So maybe maybe that's when suddenly you can shift from the I, meaning thinking about yourself as the individual and only thinking about my needs, to now my needs have extended to the person next to me, right? My needs are now more about caring for that person, whether it's my child or the person that I'm in love with, than they are about my needs. But I think, because I used to think all the time, I remember having this thought actually.
I would like some of yours, and I would like you to have some of mine.
You can just have some of mine.
You don't want any of mine? It's so sugary. It's like...
Okay, give it to me. I'll drink it.
Give
it to Mikey. He'll eat it.
Do
you remember that Life commercial?
I think it was that what he said? I just was like, I thought it was just, hey, Mikey, he likes it.
Maybe it was just, hey, Mikey, he likes it. Anywho, oh my God, I had a really deep thought.
Sorry.
It's okay. We were talking about those moments where there's the pain and the love. And then you're loving the person. Oh, I remember this was probably when I remember the time frame. I was like in high school. This was 17, 18, maybe 19 years old, where I figured out what love meant.
Oh.
I figured it out.
Let's hear this.
I knew it.
Okay, tell me.
Up until that point, I didn't have an understanding of what love was, right? Love was just something that you kind of experienced or received, right? And we know from our therapy that we had some very skewed perspectives of love that we were given, and anywho, that's not what this is about. I remember very distinctly during that time period in high school, and it was all because of this one girl. And I remember getting to a point where I knew that I loved her. And what that shift was in my head of why I loved this person and I didn't love, the girl that I dated before that person was because I would die for her.
Ah.
I would put myself in front of the bullet. I would sacrifice my life so that her life could continue. And that became my definition of love. I had forgotten that.
Yeah. You want to sit with that for a minute?
I don't know. I think it's interesting. Oh, goodness gracious.
I told you it was sugary.
That's like some kid's apple juice. Wow.
With sugar on top. It's like it dries out your mouth. I'm sitting over here so thirsty. I feel like my tongue is swelling.
Didn't you bring up some more of
I did, but like, what are we going to do with that?
Just pour it on the carpet or something. Well, let's share that. You drink that.
Well, okay.
Hey, don't get too
I
squirrely.
want more tea.
Isn't that an interesting... Well, hand me my tea and I'll pour it in there. Because this will dilute and it'll taste good.
Because then we'll just have no tea that's good.
The full good tea.
Okay, give it back over here.
No, I'm going to dilute it.
No, because you won't like it anymore.
This will make that taste better. Because that
You don't like this?
It's not bad. The whole thing with me and tea is it just
This
tastes
came
like
in
I'm
a gift
drinking
basket.
grass.
This wasn't the tea that I bought. This was like those little ones that come in a gift basket.
I know we're getting rid of it. Right? We could just throw it away or give it to somebody else this Christmas.
Well, not now because we've opened the 2-pack it came in.
Hey, Mikey.
Let's see. Let's see what it tastes like.
There we go. Now you got some tea. Isn't that an
Would
interesting
you like to
thought,
share
though?
some stress relief with me?
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm very relieved of stress.
Yeah, you are.
No stress in this guy.
Mm-hmm. I was going to do some green chai, but kava it is.
See, that's actually not bad now.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's drinkable.
I'm going to take your word for it because I'm still trying to recover from the like massive like sugar cubes.
Right.
Like I'm getting sugar crystals forming on my teeth right now.
That was some very good apple juice. It's like when you're a kid and you're like, yeah, I drink. I'm all about healthy stuff. What do you drink? Sunny Delight?
Hey, low blow,
That was a little
dude.
jab at Steph.
Low blow. I thought that was orange juice when I was growing up. I didn't know. Like it says like...
I thought Tang, babe.
It says like vitamin C on
Right.
Sunny Delight.
I thought Tang was orange juice. And Tang
I
is
liked
just straight
it.
sugar.
I thought it was so good.
Tang is a orange Jolly Rancher melted down into liquid form. Back to...
Jeez.
Do
I
you
did not figure it out. Sorry.
Do you agree with that definition of love? That you will sacrifice yourself so that they can live?
That is not a defining love characteristic for me.
I'm not. You're above your mic.
Damn it. That is not how I define love. I'm not like, oh, if I die for you, then that means I love you. But the people that I love,
you would do that for.
I would do that for. But that's not, like, I can see the confusion with that. That's not my measure.
That became my barometer.
I see that.
Where I would meet somebody and I would literally date people.
Would I die for you?
Literally.
Yeah?
I would date a girl and I'd look at her and I'd be like,
did you say it to her or just like
no,
think it? Okay,
no,
that's good.
No.
Turns out I wouldn't die for you later.
Right? So I've been thinking, I know we've been out on 2 dates and turns out I'm not going to die for you. So we might as well just end this now.
I don't know what's worse. She's saying that or being like, hey, we've been on 2 dates and I would die for you. I'm like, oh my God. God, can I help?
Both are creepy.
Both are
red flags.
Right?
But that used to be my barometer and that's what I would use for a long time.
Yeah.
Probably up until this point
that.
when I have this realization of.
I can see that.
Right?
I can see that, like trying to unravel that twisted, not like you're twisted, but trying to unravel that concept of misconceptions.
Yeah.
Like I can see that so clearly.
I used to think about it like I remember some of the guys that I used to work with. And the men and women that I worked with that I felt like I would die for were the ones that I loved.
Yeah.
And then there were some that I liked.
Like I'm gonna have your back, but
right. And truthfully,
you're gonna have to do your part.
As a police officer, I would have died for any other police officer.
Yeah. Well, think about that. Like as an act of love, like how much you put your life on the line for people that you had never even met.
Yeah, for love.
So you were ready to act in complete service of love
We're scripting that now.
Look at that. Mm-hmm. And now you just have a healthier concept.
Yeah. Turns out I don't have to die for love.
Yeah, you can live for love now.
Right?
Yeah, you
and
can
I think
live
that's
for
probably
love.
the root of that belief is I have to die for love. Think about that.
I am.
Like if you know Craig's trauma, and you don't, because Craig doesn't talk about it on the podcast openly, but that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That in order for me to be loved, I have to be willing to die.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's another part of it too, right? If that's my level, if that's my barometer for love, then that's also, like, almost like nobody else is going to make that same sacrifice for myself, right? I'm so not worthy of love because nobody is going to be willing to die for me.
Yeah.
So then it still is like this really convoluted way of, not self-hatred, but
not only that, but you would never allow anyone to.
Right.
Because it was so ingrained.
Especially
and
if it's somebody
I'm speaking
that I
for
love,
myself, right? Like especially if it's somebody you loved, but not only would you like not believe you were worthy on it, but you wouldn't allow yourself to be. So like you wouldn't allow it to happen. You would absolutely take that sacrifice.
Exactly. If it came down to it. I used to have so many weird what if scenarios in my head.
I know.
Where I would be like, oh, okay. I'd sit there and think, and those what if scenarios weren't just when I was a police officer and I would think about wacky things happening and what I would do. It would be like, 20 years old, dating somebody for 3 months, decided I love her, and be like, okay, so if we end up stranded somewhere and I have to like sacrifice myself, and that's the only way that
is it
she's
so she
going
could
to
eat
live.
you, survive, like
Who
eat by
knows?
eating your calf muscle?
Not my calf muscle. Baby, start with the ass. Yeah, it's so funny. That's a really, that's an extreme.
Manifestation of trauma?
Yes. And that's like the extreme of love, right? To some extent, it's true. Mm-hmm. Like I think about it from this kind of, once again, here's a bizarro what if scenario, right? Like if you need a heart transplant and I'm the only transplant available heart that will keep you alive.
You're just going to have to figure out how to live without me, babe.
But see, that's the whole thing. Then we fight over who's
I'll win.
Living.
Because it'll be on day 18 of my moon and you don't stand a chance.
Yeah, I'm glad that I've kind of grown up.
Yeah.
I think a lot of, I've been having that thought process. We talked earlier on one of the 63 episodes that we've recorded in the last 5 days. And the whole concept and idea of being able to see everybody as a child, right? Just imagine everybody 10 and under and kind of looking at everybody that way. I really feel as I have done all of this inner work and looked at myself and my shadows in the past, 40 years of my life, so much of my actions, behaviors, the way that I moved through life, the way that I thought about life was so juvenile, was so little kid.
Okay.
I think I probably capped out around maybe 13 years old.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like even in my most healthiest emotional states throughout my entire adult life, I was probably about 13.
I say that.
And
like
so I think
younger
that shaped,
at other times.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Lovingly. That's the inner child in me, how kids are like brutally honest.
Right.
that was my 3-year-old that's being like, you're 3.
And it's sad and it makes me feel bad and I have some shame about it, and I can kind of have that narrative in my head of like, man, I was an adult, but yet I wasn't, and I should have done better and I should have known better. And
yeah, I hate those shoulds.
But it's just, I didn't know better.
You didn't.
And it makes total sense why I was moving through life like a child. And as I expand outwards and I start to see everybody's behavior, right? We've had a lot of comments lately on some of our reels and all the social media stuff that we're posting. By the way, go subscribe to the Clips channel on YouTube. We're getting a lot of really negative comments.
Hurt people lashing out from...
Yeah, but it's really fascinating to me because the internet has done a beautiful job of highlighting, right, high roads and low roads.
Yeah.
Really beautiful things about society, and then ugly things about society. And the time that it takes somebody to, now granted, it takes a second with technology nowadays, right?
Yeah.
For you to respond and make a comment on somebody's post, seconds. Doesn't take long at all. But the fact that you'll take the 2, 3, 5 seconds to post something negative.
Like not just like negative, like hurtful, like trying to cause pain.
To post something
like
hurtful
cruel
and negative on a complete stranger really tells me that I'm not the only one behaving like a child in this world. And I think about our son got his learner's permit recently, so we've been doing a lot of driving with him, and the way that people drive and the way that people interact with other people while they're driving, it's just literally kind of the way that we all move through society is like a bunch of little kids.
Yeah.
And it's a bunch of hurt little kids that are wounded, right? It's not happy kids that are just playing and enjoying. Like, I remember the joy of playing when you were a kid. Do you have that feeling of just the joy of playing when you were a kid?
I'm sure. I have one that comes to mind, and that it's come to mind. Like it's kind of like my go-to, but I don't have a lot of joy. I can't tap into a lot. I don't have a lot of memories from being a kid.
Yeah.
My one is but it was also being impatient. I used to like to run, but surprise, I like to run. But I would just from going one place to the other, it was like, why am I going to walk when I'll just run?
Yeah.
It's funner to run. You get there faster. So I like to run.
And you remember that feeling?
Yes.
Just
like
free
running
and joy, and it's just kind of the wind in your hair. I remember riding my bike.
Yeah.
Feeling that, right? The freedom that you feel on your bike. But that joy of playing as a kid is not really what we're all moving through life feeling.
No.
Instead, we're these hurt kids that are moving through life angry and upset, lashing out, throwing fits and tantrums.
Trying to avoid.
Somebody trips and we laugh at them, right? I think about some of the mean things that I did as a kid. I remember pushing a Lynn Taylor. Oh, she's getting married soon, only because I'm friends on Facebook with like 90% of the people that I grew up with, because this town is so small, and 75% of us still live here. But I think she still goes by Taylor. She's not married yet. I pushed her down the stairs in like 3rd or 4th grade, and they were like steep cement stairs. And I remember pushing her down the stairs and her knees getting all scraped up and like having to go inside, and I got in trouble for it, rightfully so, right?
Right. Yeah.
But why did I push a Lynn down the stairs?
I don't know. Do you know why?
Probably because I liked her.
Okay, girls and guys and non-binary specific. That is how abuse happens, is that mentality right there. What did they say to girls? He was mean to you. What did they probably say? Oh, it's probably because he likes you.
Right.
So then we get programmed that,
right.
Oh, being abused means like that's love. I know that was my love language. That was like what I thought love was. Right. And then like, I didn't even see that part where that's how guys are taught.
Exactly.
Oh, you pushed her, you liked her. Oh, this is how I show I like someone.
Right. Think about
like that is whack.
Think about the movies and TV shows that we were raised watching and growing up.
Okay.
We were in the 80s, and the generation before us, 70s, 60s, 50s, right? It was not uncommon to watch women being physically abused.
Yeah.
In the midst of a television show or Do you know what I mean? And also like by their partner, not like in a scene where they're attacked by strangers, by their love interest and by the person that, you know, and not.
Well, there's like the honeymooners. The main phrase is why I oughta.
Right.
And that's like the funny catchphrase.
Yeah. So yeah, I probably pushed Lynn down the stairs because I liked her. And where was I going? Oh,
I don't know.
first off, Lynn, I apologize deeply. And if you ever listen to this podcast, like, I'm terribly, terribly sorry. Obviously, we were kids, and that's not an excuse at this point. But I wonder if she remembers that, right?
Yeah.
And but I just think about that, where I inflicted a lot of pain outwardly.
Yeah.
One of my best friends from first grade, so from the time that I was 6 years old, and we're still friends today, right? Alan and I are friends because our teacher in first grade made us stay in from recess and like forced us to be nice with each other because we fought like every single day. And we both came from families with older brothers, and we both knew how to fight. And that was just kind of how you interacted with boys and with other boys. And we were very competitive with each other and constantly, you know, trying to compete for dominance on the playground. Yeah, the level of fuckery that these poor kids exist in, right? Us included, and it's still the same today. And that's the whole thing, is we're all still those little kids moving through society and through life. And it's so sad. So I started this whole rabbit hole rant off of, I'm realizing after all of this work that we're doing and all of this deep, deep shadow inner work, really going back and realizing that, I mean, last year, I mean, still today, I behave like a child at times. You know, I can't manage my emotions. If I get upset at something, I lash out at other people. I slam doors when I'm angry. I get upset if I spill a drink, or like all of these things are just the inability to regulate my nervous system, and then the repercussions and the ripples effects of all of that. And that's literally, I think, what's wrong with society.
I was just like, I can think of all these examples, right? But then like literally I was in that moment before we hit play. I was like amped up, not able to manage, so triggered.
Yeah.
And I'm still triggered. Like, I need help. I still can't see my way out of that right now. It's still like, I was like very afraid. Yeah. I was ready to cry. I was ready to leave. I was ready to like smash out. I was just like, it was such a, I'm surprised at how hard that triggered me. Because I don't feel like that's not my common trigger.
Right.
Or not my common trigger. Reaction. It still happens, but it used to be. Everything was like, but still, like, I can't even, like, we're in the midst of it and we're in work, and like, there's part of me that's like, I should know how to handle this. I should have calmed down enough. But what my emotional level is okay. I didn't react. I got away from the reaction so I could calm down. And no, I don't know how to do it yet, but I know, like kind of we talked before, have a support system in place.
Yeah.
I know, like, I'm getting help. I'm asking you. I'm like, okay, we're going to go. And if you don't know what to do, then we're texting a therapist, because I'm like, I need help with this one. And this is something that needs to be handled now. So it's not even the luxury of, you know, just keep putting it off. Like, this is something that I feel is critical, but I don't know what to do. So it's that reaction, that childlike reaction is still there.
So it's like the tantrum, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that
I don't like this. I'm scared. I'm afraid.
That overwhelming feeling inside that, I don't know what to do with this.
Yes.
It's the 2-year-old or the 4-year-old or the 6-year-old that, you know, hey, can I have a sucker? No. And then they throw a tantrum.
Yeah.
It's the inability to regulate those emotions because of the trigger or the experience, the external input.
So instead, I was like,
and then what did we do with that 2-year-old?
Come upstairs. What do we do with them? Well, it depends on the day.
Knock it off.
Knock it off, or
Smack them.
I was going to say, or give them the sucker.
Or give them a sucker. Right?
Yeah.
So many unhealthy ways of actually helping.
You're being spoiled. I'm not going to give you, that's not how you're going to get it.
Right.
Like all the ways, like I did all the things wrong.
You only did all the things wrong because you were taught all the wrong ways.
Also, I would cave in and give the sucker a lot.
Because I'm almost 80, 90,000, 110% certain that somebody gave you the sucker.
Yeah.
Think about, I mean, yeah, we're getting off on.
Also, like maybe it's okay to like give them the sucker. Just give them the fucking sucker. Like, oh my God, everything doesn't have to be a no. Yeah, I'm gonna go buy suckers now and just start passing them out to
we're
kids.
We're not talking about suckers, sweetheart.
We're not?
Definitely don't go buy suckers and just start handing them out to random children.
I'm sure that'll be fine. You're right.
You literally just talked about giving free candy to children. You know what? I've got this figured out. I know how I'm going to solve these issues.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
Kids, come find Stephanie. She's got free suckers.
No, that's okay. I didn't see that. I see that now. Maybe this way it's like,
you know what? Everybody gets a sucker
around
here.
This is why I love Halloween so much, because I love giving kids
it really
candy.
is your favorite holiday.
I love Halloween.
She just has such a kick out of the kids coming to the door.
They are so cute.
Yeah.
I love it. I love passing out candy. I love Halloween. I love it.
Let's wrap up so we can go figure out what we're going to do with the rest of our evening.
Okay.
Thank you for listening, everybody. Like we talked earlier at the beginning, we got a lot of new stuff coming and a lot of new stuff that we're rolling out. And if you're listening to the podcast, thank you. Like quite literally, that's all. We don't even ask you to listen, right? We're not cold calling people.
Oh, I was like, I'm asking, like, please listen.
Well, yeah, but maybe we should do some telemarketing.
Should we do some cold calling?
Yeah.
Should we just like, do they even have, can we get a phone book? Do you remember phone books?
Calls.
Let's do prank calls.
Yeah, we'll just call random people. Hello, have you ever heard of podcasts? Oh, you have? We have the perfect podcast.
Would you rate that favorable, somewhat favorable, not favorable?
Can we, do you have a moment of time? No, you're eating dinner? Perfect. Do you ever listen to podcasts during
dinner?
Yes, we don't ask anything. You don't have to go subscribe. You don't have to leave a review. You don't have to go follow us on Instagram or like our clips channel. You don't have to do any of that stuff. You can literally just sit wherever you're sitting, driving wherever you're driving, walking, and you can consume this podcast for free for the rest of your life, or as long as it's around, and it's going to be around for a long time. Yeah. And that alone, we have such deep gratitude for. We truthfully do. Such immense gratitude for the people that listen and support this podcast just by listening. That's such a huge, truthfully, that's why we do it. At the end of the day, that's the whole purpose of the podcast, is basically spreading love through these conversations and helping the people that hear these conversations not have life-changing experiences. Although that's great if you do, right? We're not going to complain if your life changes from listening to the podcast. That's amazing. Then you should definitely send us $1,000. But all you have to do is, like, if it impacts you in some little way, shape, or form, and it sparks an idea in your thoughts, or if it changes the way that you interact with your partner, or maybe you look at somebody differently because of what we've talked about on this episode or one of the other episodes.
Start to look at yourself differently.
Exactly. Like, that's the whole thing. And if that's all that you do for the podcast, thank you, thank you, thank you, truly from the bottom of our hearts, because that's amazing in of itself. The idea that we can sit up here in our house, record these episodes and have these conversations and then send them out in the beautiful way that technology works and you listen is beautiful and amazing. And we're so deeply grateful for that. And go follow us on Instagram. You know, all those other things too are awesome and amazing. And if you want to give back to the podcast, also, if you're ever interested in like working with us, that's something that we do. You can reach out. And if you ever have questions, we love getting feedback. We love answering questions. It's super easy. You can email us. You can anonymously. Don't stick a letter under our door or something. That's going to be really weird. It's but
creepy.
Yeah,
I'm not going to respond to that.
Yeah, I might. But anyway, shape or form, feel free to reach out because we love hearing from the fans and the listeners of the podcast. Thank you very much.
If it's still April when you're listening to this.
It is April still, maybe.
Well, whenever you're listening to this, if it's still April of 22, then you still have time to win this backdrop. Mm-hmm. So make sure you check out our Instagram page and look at the pin post. Is it pinned or in the highlights?
It's
in the
up top.
highlights or up at top giveaways, and see how you can enter to win this backdrop.
And we'll see you guys next week.
Yeah.